So to quote Choponi, we begin at the beginning. How did this all happen, and why? How did you settle on Glass Animals for a name?
Oh my gosh, that's going back quite a long way. It's been a long journey. How did it all happen? I don't know. I used to DJ for a little bit of pocket money when I was at college, and then I would get home and be like really wired because there's a lot of adrenaline, and so I started making a bit of music.
Wow.
I had a terrible little Casio keyboard, and that was that, and a really old laptop. That wasn't really a laptop because it didn't have a battery. It was just plugged into the wall the whole time. And I started making songs, and I showed them to the band. And they were like, this is cool, put it on the internet, and that's the beginning of it.
So that was all the Golden Antlers era and everything?
Yeah, oh my God, you go deep. Yeah.
I've been listening to you guys for a long time.
Oh my God, yeah, you go that's amazing. That was the Golden Antlers era, and then Black Mambo and stuff. But the name came from my grandma used to collect glass animals.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I guess you think of that every single time you perform.
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's a nice, comforting thought. Grandma.
So she's happy.
That's great. I hope so. I hope she wouldn't never let me play with the glass animals though. I wasn't allowed. I could look at them through the window.
So it's so difficult to categorize your genre of music because every album is so different. So what do you think you guys best fit?
Oh my God, that's hard. That's hard. That's like me asking you what kind of personality do you think you have or something.
Well, I hope I have I'm just human. I'm just a human being.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's just music, But it's really tricky. It's like, I think to me, my voice just sounds weird.
Oh, no way.
No, it does. Like when you hear yourself on an answering machine, it's kind of hard to explain. I don't know. I'm the worst person. What do you think?
I think you're like everything psychedelic indie. I think it just goes by which album I'm listening to at the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard. So how do you come up with these songs? How does the song come to you? How do you catch it?
All sorts of different. Well, I'm pretty lucky in that I just have lots. I've never really had to force it. I quite often wake up in the middle of the night and have an idea, and I'll record it, like a melody or some words. That's normally how it starts. I'll record that. And we're so lucky now that we just have these little phones that you can record things in. I used to have a tape thing that I do it all with. And sometimes I even have a little tiny studio in my house. I say studio, it's like a laptop and a microphone. So I can just rush there in the middle of the night if I have an idea and it's developing. That's it. And then sometimes in the morning I'll listen to the voice memo or whatever and be like, oh, wow, and I'll develop it that day. And then if it's a good enough idea, there'll be a song at the end of it. Yeah.
So that's how Dreamland was quite literally born from a dream?
Yeah, it really was. I feel quite that's the amazing thing about music. It's quite magical. Who knows where it comes from? But of course there are tricks if you are stuck, if you get a song to a certain point, it's half finished. There are tricks you can use to finish things and to trigger your brain into finishing it off.
So you have a neuroscience background. Does that influence your creative process in music in any way? Does it come through?
Whoa.
Because it kind of comes through in stuff like Heat Waves and even now in I Love You So Fucking Much. A bit of science is there.
There's a bit, I think subconsciously, definitely. And also, when I was doing that degree that I was working in it taught me how to work hard. And that, it's cool. I'm a bit of a nerd.
Yeah.
And so that I like kind of hiding these little nerdy things in the music, little musical jokes and silly things like that. I think that definitely changed the music in that way. The other thing about it is I used to meet because I was doing psychiatry stuff as well. I used to meet a lot of people, and it just made me ask a lot of questions. You think about what makes people a lot. What makes us all different and what connects us all. You spend a lot of time thinking about that when you're doing psychiatric work, and I think that's definitely bled into the music a bit.
Yeah, I think especially Zaba, because it's really dark, abstract. Where does that come from? Is that from this when you were researching?
I think there's definitely an element of that, but there's an element of because I was doing that was happening while I was still doing a lot of science, and there's definitely there's some kind of references to that kind of thing in the lyrics. But also because music was quite new and happening at the same time, I was quite shy. in that. And I think Zaba was, as you can tell, it's quite shy. It's quite like, listening back to it now, it's quite like abstract, and the vocals really mumbly and quiet and low. And it kind of sounds like a nerd who's like doing science, trying to make some music, but being a bit shy about it. Yeah.
I think How to Be a Human Being was a lot less abstract. It was more concrete, and there's like different it's like short stories just condensed into a song. So how did that happen? You guys were on tour, I think, when you decided to write it?
Exactly. Yeah. Zaba happened. We ended up touring a lot. And when you're on tour, you meet people every day. All sorts of people. You meet people at the store. I used to walk around cities, and every time we got to a new one, bump into people. I'd get on the public transport, bump into people after the show. Taxi drivers, all this stuff. And you hear a lot of stories, and you relate to some of them strongly. And so I'd kind of adapt those stories into songs.
And you hope it reaches them?
Yeah, I mean, there's one person who, like, the song Pork Soda.
Oh, yeah.
That was from someone I met after a show, and she had a tattoo that said Pork Soda on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Dreamland, which was Born from a Dream, it sort of launched you straight into the stratosphere. And I don't think you ever stopped, because now you've crossed the exosphere, going straight to your new one.
Yeah.
So how did that feel and also Dreamland felt a lot more personal than the other two. So how did that happen? How was that transition from the shy guy in his room recording this in the middle of the night?
It was, you know what? There's a song at the end of How to Be a Human Being called Agnes that's like really personal, and I didn't really want to put it on the album, but I played it for the band, and actually Joe's dad, who's always kind of been there and been very supportive with us, and his dad cried and was like, you have to put it on the album. And it was such a personal song, the most personal song I'd ever written at that point. I just tacked it on at the end, but the response to that song was so amazing, and it kind of encouraged me gave me enough confidence to go in a more personal direction.
Wow, well, I'm certainly glad it did, because I Love You So Fucking Much is a really raw, exposed version of Dreamland. Like, it doesn't hold back, I think, in terms of how it sounds, how the lyrics, I mean, Wonderful Nothing and all of that. So how was it? Like, how did you think of a cosmic album, like a space album?
I love space. I love space movies. I love retro space movies, and I love the soundtracks for them, and I always wanted to do something like that, something set in space, but space is cold. Space is like it's like a vacuum.
Yeah.
It's really clinical. And every time I tried to do something with that in mind, it just felt like that, felt really cold and clinical. But I think until I had the confidence to write something really personal at the core and use the space to like frame it, and that was like becomes quite a powerful tool in a way, being able to frame like really personal things with this like really existential soundscape. It worked. Yeah, I think, it worked in my head.
It worked
Good,
anyway. Because there's a lot of existential cosmic dread that one often associates with space, and it comes through in this one as well. And, well, the sound of space is vacuum. You can't hear anything.
Yeah.
So how did you decide that I'm going to capture the sound of space? And you've done it in such a way that it feels retro and futuristic at the same time, like Time Dilation. They're all coming together at one point.
Oh,
Singularity.
Yeah.
How did you manage to like capture the sound of space?
That was I wanted it to. I tried doing something more modern first, and it just felt too cold. And then I thought like the obvious move is to go retro future. Think of I love those old space movies. I love Space Odyssey. I love the first Blade Runner. I love the old Doctor Who radio series that have like really old. And Hitchhiker's Guide radio series that the BBC made.
That's in Run, right? The lyrics from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's lyrical references too, but also sound references. So I got a lot of the old synthesizers and guitar pedals that they used in making those kind of retro soundtracks that were meant to sound like the future, but they were made in the 60s and 50s, 70s. So they have this warmth, like it's analog warmth, and there's a nostalgic comfort to a lot of those sounds and soundtracks, and I had to lean into that heavily to make it feel, not too cold.
Yeah, not too cold, but still.
Yeah.
So what was the most difficult song on this album to write?
Ooh, good question. I think that Show Pony was difficult from a lyrical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
It's like really kind of on the nose, honest, and quite touchy subject matter. Everyone grows up witnessing
Mm-hmm.
love around them before they experience it and know anything about it. You see it in your parents, you see it in friends, older siblings, your aunties. You see couples in shops. You see even with like your pet, you have love and pet pass. You build this like idea of love and sadness as you grow up, and everyone has a slightly different one, and that's mine. So it's quite like, it's really like quite, yeah, it's just very honest representation of my experience of love growing up.
Mm-hmm. So like the album is basically different kinds of love.
Yeah,
Each song is a different version of it.
exactly.
So which was the most fun to write, and which one do you like performing the most?
Oh, I mean, Wonderful Nothing's really
Yeah.
cheeky and kind of mean. That's like the relationship between love and hate, and that was quite it allows you to be quite cheeky. On the Run is quite cheeky too. I like that one too. It's the like, it's running away from
Yeah.
like being fearful, and that's an interesting side of like love and fear is a thing too. That one's really fun live because it's quite silly. It's about faking your own death.
Yeah.
I just like that idea. I think it's silly.
I mean, death and space, two things that go together well.
Yeah, that's the next album, Death in Space.
Wow. I was thinking, since you wrote How to Be a Human Being on tour and now you're touring Earth, as it were, oh, could we expect another tour album?
I don't know. Maybe. I think there'll definitely be a subconscious influence there because we spent so much time touring. I don't know if it'll be as like direct as How to Be a Human Being. We've got to do something different.
Yeah, are you gonna keep roaming around space, go straight to Andromeda, or are you gonna come back?
We're coming back. We've got to do something different. We can't do space again. We were talking the other day, maybe dinosaurs.
Oh wow, we're going way
Going
back.
prehistoric, yeah. I don't think we could do that. I think that would be so silly.
I know, you pull up space. You could.
That's the kind of cool thing about just starting a new thing each album, is it really just leaves it open-ended. Whereas if you've made the same album or a similar album with similar concepts 3 times, it's kind of hard to go too far away from that. But I feel like we've kind of started here and gone here and then here and now it's exciting not knowing.
It is. Yeah, especially because space isn't like the final frontier. I mean, there's a lot you can still do if you want.
Oh yeah.
Ever expanding universe and all that.
There's loads, and there's always the option to come back to
Yeah.
Earth and do the opposite. Yeah.
So, if there was, speaking of like where to go from where, if there was one song that someone else had written and sung any time period, and you wish you could have done that, is there anything like that?
Whoa. My gosh. I really love. Oh, it's hard. I really love Nina Simone.
Ooh.
She has some incredible songs, but I don't think I would do it justice. Otis Redding did that song, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. You know
Oh
that
my
song?
god, yeah.
I love that song. And he didn't quite finish it. So that would be a cool one.
That would be a cool one
But
too.
again, you can't take that out.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, you
so
can
good.
link it to Lost in the Ocean.
Yeah. That's
Which
kind
one do
of
you prefer?
Slightly my version.
Swamp version, the Gorge version, or like the
There's lots of
normal
versions.
version?
I don't know. I mean, I like that it's taking on different lives. Maybe there'll be another version.
Oh,
I don't know.
Could be.
I'm trying to think what else we could do. If we could do one here, it would be really cool.
you could. There's a lot of versions you can do.
Do the kind of version in India would be really, really cool. Yeah, I like mixing it up at the moment. I feel like playing so much live has made me realize like it's not necessarily a definitive version of anything. You can keep changing it. Yeah.
So are we going to get the stripped back releases of songs like White Roses, like the full editions of these?
Very interesting. Right?
Yeah, like the bonus levels of Dreamland.
Yeah, might be working on something at the minute.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can't say anymore. Except that I've
Okay.
spent the last 5 days spending every spare moment mixing.
So once tour is over, you'd be able to do that.
Yeah. I think I just need a little bit of time. I also want to write some new songs too, but there's some stuff I've been working on in my spare time.
Oh, okay. So I guess after this we'll have another I don't want to talk, I just want to dance kind of thing coming out.
I can't comment.
Oh, okay.
I can't
Well-
comment, but you're very smart.
Thank you. Not as smart as a
Very-
neuroscientist.
No, you're an astrophysicist.
No
Smart.
way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's a good note to end it. So it's just like we leave people hanging.
Yeah, you can see the future. It's kind of scary. Yeah.
Wait.
Amy's our manager is like, Shh, stop giving things away. Stop giving away the future.
Well, this is the sound of the future in the present now.
Yeah.